That's the lesson that you take from this. Don't ever, ever, ever give up on someone.
When it comes down to it, it's a very difficult sport.
I enjoy the people that are here.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Welcome to Community Close-Up. I'm Joe Nelson. Today we take a look at how a new Coon Rapids mosque, the only of its kind in Minnesota, is helping people throughout the area. Nearly 3 months after a Coon Rapids man was rescued during a sudden cardiac arrest, he finally gets a chance to say thanks. In the season of giving, we'll show you how a Coon Rapids nonprofit is bringing in volunteers by the thousands to make sure millions have meals. But first, a Coon Rapids man was the first American to die of Ebola while he was working in Nigeria back in July. He left behind a wife and 3 young daughters, but his absence brought a stronger motivation to put an end to the disease that continues to claim lives. As a Liberian diplomat, Patrick Sawyer was on a mission to help his home country, sacrificing time away from his wife DeConti and their daughters, 6-year-old Ava, 5-year-old Mia, and Bella turning 2 in Coon Rapids.
He goes, I'm doing this for us, and I have to do this. And so I supported him, and it was hard.
Things got harder. Earlier this year, Ebola hit West Africa, where Patrick had been working.
I really didn't understand how serious it was.
In July, DeConti came to understand the disease all too well when Patrick's sister died without warning. And 2 weeks later, a series of phone calls changed her life.
She called back not too long ago and said, yeah, he's definitely in Nigeria. He's definitely in the hospital being quarantined, and they're thinking he may have Ebola. And I said one final prayer, and then I went to bed, hoping for the best the next day. But then a phone call woke me up at 3 a.m. And that's when they told me that he died. And then I thought about our daughters and what am I going to do? What am I going to say to them? How do I shield them from the pain that was like all over me, my face and my tears, and because they didn't need to see that. I did have the conversation with Ava finally after 3 days. Because I didn't know what to say to her, and so I had a conversation with her that, trying to inform her that Daddy was never going to come back, and that was so hard. And I told her, I said, well, Ava, I told her that Daddy's in heaven now. And she said, why? Why is Daddy in heaven? Because she knows the concept of heaven and earth. And so I said, well, Jesus came to get Daddy, God came to get Daddy and took him to heaven. And she said, well, why did God take Daddy to heaven? And I said, well, you know how Daddy's always helping other people and Jesus is always there to work for others? And she said, yeah. I said, well, Daddy was so good at his job at helping other people that God wanted him to help him in heaven. Like, God needs Daddy's help in heaven because he's so great at what he does in helping, and God needs some help, so Daddy went to help him. And she said, oh. And then she goes, can I go too to help with Daddy? And I said, well, no, honey, you can't go to help with Daddy because Mommy needs your help right here. Like, I need you to stay here and help with me here. And she said, okay.
2 months passed, and a memorial service was held in Patrick's honor.
Rest in perpetual peace, my baby boy.
It's not the first time DeConti has felt such pain. She escaped Liberia's civil war at a young age, but her uncle and other loved ones did not.
The Ebola crisis reminds me of that. Like, it takes me back to the Civil War times, because it's the same being here, hearing about what's going on back home, losing loved ones. I lost my husband, losing other family members, and hearing the cries, hearing the stories. But the only difference this time is that I'm not that 11-year-old girl that was helpless and then couldn't do anything. I can do something now. I can fight back. I can be a part of the solution. I can help make it stop. And so that's what I did. That's what I started to do.
After Ebola cases were seen in Texas and New York, hospitals here took notice, preparing for any potential challenges.
I think the likelihood of Ebola coming to Minnesota is small, but we need to be prepared. Most Ebola patients who present, they present with the flu-like symptoms: fever, body aches, abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting. We feel confident that we have the necessary training, the necessary equipment to take care of a patient should they show up at our doorstep or be transferred to our facility.
In a war that cannot be won with guns or bombs, DeConti is fighting with words and gloves. After the service, she launched the COFA Foundation to offer protective materials and education to Liberians and counseling for grieving families here.
We need to come together as a global community and work together on eradicating Ebola.
I have this sample kit here, and it has here gloves. These are things that will help contain the virus, prevent it from spreading. Your gloves, your facial masks, these are items we're asking folks to donate. You know, your hand sanitizer, the bleach, shoe covers, robes, different protective gear, personal protective equipments. That's gonna help contain it and eventually help eradicate it. We're really focused on families with the COFA Foundation. Families like myself, providing mental health services, something that myself and my daughters are having to go through. Because the ones that are left behind are the ones suffering still to pick up the pieces. So we want to reach out to those families and say, we're with you. We hear you, we see you, we are you, and that it's okay to get help.
So far, more than 6,000 people have died from Ebola in this outbreak, and the CDC predicts 1.4 million could be infected by the end of January next year. For more information on how to donate or volunteer with the COFA Foundation, go to cofafoundation.org. Still to come, a former bank building that sat empty is bringing people from more than 100 miles away together for unique worship services. Stay with us.
My new mom and I have a lot in common.
The great outside.
We both love the outdoors.
It's so shiny.
That's not a flower. We both love geology.
Oh, look. An igneous one.
That's not a rock. And she knows a lot about wildlife.
A labradoodle.
That's not a dog. Hanging out has been kind of fun.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
The first mosque in Coon Rapids and the only of its kind in Minnesota is now open to worshipers. Community Closeup's Bao Vang visits and finds out why community members say the building was a good fit in the neighborhood.
In 2013, when this former bank on Robinson Drive in Coon Rapids sat empty,
Bismillahi majreha wa mursaha inna rabbi laghafurur rahim. Then it's a prayer that, may God safe, yes, from any, any issues on the road or during the travel.
Ajaz Khan and a couple of others came to see if it had potential of turning into a mosque.
When I saw it, I actually stood in the grounds there and honestly prayed there that if this is the right property, then may God have it happen for us. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
His prayer was answered, and in October of that year, for the first time, members of the Minnesota chapter of the Ahmadiyya Muslim sect finally had a place of worship they could call their own.
This property is so beautiful. It meets our needs. And, we needed something that is, we can have a space There was good parking facilities. The neighborhood was very nice.
26 years ago, they started meeting in members' homes, to community centers and rental offices, and said their locations weren't always safe or convenient until now.
It's just a blessing that now we have our own facility that with no fear of we have our own keys. We can just come whenever we want to and just get that blessings. This is such a good location and is populated with all their residential area, and then you feel safe too.
The worshipers settled quickly into Coon Rapids, and it didn't even matter that not a single member actually lived in the city. Some travel as far as Mankato and St. Cloud.
We have 5 boys. Looking for a girl.
Wow. The Khans were some of the closest living in Brooklyn Park at the time, but it still wasn't close enough for them, so they moved to Coon Rapids.
This is actually has been our always dream that we should be living within the walking distance, both of us.
They found a condo about 300 yards away from the mosque, and by default, Khan received keys to the mosque and was asked to occasionally open the doors when worshippers wanted to pray. One year later, the Khans have moved to New Brighton, but it wasn't because they didn't like it in Coon Rapids. They say everyone they've encountered so far has been welcoming.
I have not felt at all living there or with this mosque any prejudice. We walked every night, every evening near the mosque, and we just walk around and never felt anything. In any form.
And they're glad. Members say rather than dwelling on the negative stereotypes about their religion, they would rather spread the true meaning of Islam.
Islam is about saving lives. It's not about taking away lives. The word Islam means peace.
For Community Closeup, Bao Vang.
The mosque plans a grand opening for the public in the near future. Up next, a group of bystanders are recognized for their efforts in saving a Coon Rapids man who suffered a sudden cardiac arrest at a concert at the dam this summer. We'll be right back. In September, we told you about a Coon Rapids man who survived a sudden cardiac arrest that was caught on tape during a summer concert at the dam. The quick actions of strangers giving CPR and using an AED revived Tim Buck's heart. Since then, Buck has been going to cardiac rehab every week, but never knew the faces of those who gave him another chance at life.
It's kind of an interesting thing that's going to happen.
Tim Buck, along with his wife Fatima of Coon Rapids, walked to his car and drove across town.
I think this is a very important day, and I've been looking forward to it.
Waiting to see him were Chris Shields, Ryan Radke, and Mark Snell, 3 strangers who met Tim once before.
It was my son's patrol's weekend or Thursday night do the pop and water for and popcorn for the Boy Scouts.
I just happened to be down at the dam with visiting my former boss.
I was outside the park doing some traffic control.
At the Coon Rapids Dam, I was dancing quite vigorously, and then suddenly I started feeling pain in my chest. And that was the last thing I knew that happened, and I was gone.
I knew he needed help, and I jumped in, checked his pulse, no pulse, and I started CPR.
Coon Rapids Dam, we're going to need, we have somebody down, he's blue, and not sure what's going on there, people helping him, but we'll need fire and rescue and expedite it.
I heard a code blue call over the radio, and that's when I jumped in my truck and I ran over to the scene. I grabbed an AED out of my vehicle and I saw Tim lying there. So I gave it to my coworker. She strapped it on.
I walked over and tapped the person that was attempting CPR and tapped him out and began doing heavy compressions and just there on until emergency services showed up.
Their quick actions, along with a few others, got Tim Buck's heart beating again after he suffered sudden cardiac arrest on the dance floor.
Next thing I remember when I woke up and I seen the doctors and I was in the hospital, then I realized there was something serious happened, you know, so then I got the detail from all the doctors of what went on. They told me that I'd have to have a quadruple bypass, and I wasn't looking forward to that. But there's no other choice, you know, because my arteries were pretty much blocked up. So that was a good choice.
After surgery the next day, Tim began his recovery process, never knowing those who gave him another chance at life.
No, I haven't talked to one of them yet.
Nearly 3 months after Tim clinically died and was brought back, he finally got a chance to meet his team of rescuers.
Thank you very much. Oh my God, thank you.
Good to see you standing.
Introduce yourself.
What's your name?
Brian.
Brian?
Yep.
Ryan is one of the guys doing CPR on you.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Thank you. You're the first one, right? Yep. Oh, there you are. Thank you.
The rescuers were honored by the Coon Rapids City Council this week for their quick actions that day.
They're just an awesome group, and they're such a blessing to be there and quick responding, and I just appreciate each and every one of them. And I thank them from the bottom of my heart for what they did.
Thank you for being the village. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for caring. It's all about heart.
It feels great. He looks awesome. A lot better than when I saw him lying there.
We actually saved a life. It's fantastic to see him up and around, and you know that our efforts weren't in vain.
Well, it was awesome, considering where 95% of the people in Tim's situation find themselves. It's just, it's something else. It's something that typically doesn't happen. So you're watching a miracle walk around.
I don't get to touch a miracle too often.
3 of the rescuers who helped deliver CPR had been trained by Heart Safe Coon Rapids, a program that offers instruction on how to respond when someone suffers sudden cardiac arrest and also delivers AEDs throughout the community. Coon Rapids police officer Brian Plotz launched the program after seeing a family member fail to get the help he needed.
For me, it was losing my uncle to complications from sudden cardiac arrest, and you know, to give other families an opportunity that maybe my family wasn't fortunate enough to have is very gratifying. It's a testament that the program works, and you know, in speaking with them individually, they talked about that training as being something that they fell back on and really helped them focus through all that chaos. So I feel great. It's one of the proudest things I've ever done.
The Buck family and the responders say they hope everyone can learn from this successful outcome.
Everybody should be trained in first aid and CPR. I think it's a definite must.
And have defibrillators around and stuff, and know that this is going to really help save lives.
And if you would like to help the Buck family with high medical expenses, a benefit has been set up. For more information, go to our website at ctnstudios.com. Still to come, we show you how an area charity is providing meals to people in more than 70 countries, and we take a look at how Anoka County helped people grow their own meals in the early 1900s. We'll be right back.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Feed My Starving Children, an organization that packs food for those in need throughout the world, reached a major milestone, delivering its billionth meal this fall. A century ago, finding meals for everyone was even more difficult, but Anoka County did have an option to help. Community Close-Up's Drew Shingen looks at how a farm put people to work but kept food on the table.
I think, when people see these things, that's when they react. They either react and say, these people need help and I'm going to help them, or they say, these people are, not deserving of help and they're a detriment to society.
It is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and destitute.
Are there no prisons?
Plenty of prisons.
And the union workhouses, are they still in operation?
They are.
It's, I think, a lot of people's perceptions about what they like or don't like about people that are on assistance or are poor or are asking for money and or receiving it has a lot to do with whether or not they can see them.
It is enough for a man to understand his own business without interfering with other people's.
In Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, Scrooge's thoughts of the poor highlighted the opinions shared by many in the 1900s. At the turn of the last century, Anoka County decided to help their less fortunate residents with what was known at the time as a poor farm.
They're certainly not around any longer today that I'm aware of. It was an idea of helping out poor people that were not able to pay for their own housing, for their own food, those types of things. And so the farm was a working farm, and the people that were, they called them inmates that were there, they weren't necessarily sentenced to be there, though sometimes the courts had them there. The money raised from the farm would pay the salaries of the superintendent and any of the upkeep for the farm, and of course food produced at the farm would feed the inmates, the residents at the farm, and then they could also sell it for the income of it.
The farm was only up for about 30 years, and it was closed for a variety of reasons.
The biggest reason was the social safety net was changing for people that were on the farm. That was the big reason. The smaller reason, and I'll cover that first, is that it wasn't as profitable, and so the county was actually starting to put money into it. The whole idea was that it was going to be self-sustaining. But the big reason is that we're starting to see other safety nets happen. On the state, we're starting to see that state funds will give money directly to the people. And then we're starting to see things with on the national side with Social Security comes a couple of years after, but it was sort of in the offing after it closes, and so there's those other social safety nets there. And so there just wasn't the need for it, and the model that they were using just wasn't profitable either.
The city of Coon Rapids eventually bought the land, and now the Cardinals football field resides there. For Community Close-Up, I'm Drew Shingen.
The farm covered 75 acres, growing wheat and grain for sale and raising livestock to help feed its residents. Thanks for watching Community Close-Up. We'll leave you with a look at an organization that has been fighting world hunger for nearly 30 years, offering an outlet for people to give back. Feed My Starving Children produced more than 190 million meals last year with the help of more than 4 million volunteers. I'm Joe Nelson. We'll see you next year.
Well, welcome to those of you that are returning, and thanks all those new faces that are here. We love having new faces come in. It's awesome.
Feed My Starving Children is an awesome organization because you give them money, and then you can actually feel the product that you're dealing with. You get the packet, and you know exactly where it's going to end up.
Now, the Manapack rice is what you're going to be making here today. It makes 6 one-cup meals.
We provide the food, and we can take a child that's skin and bones and make them fat and sassy in about 6 weeks.
So let's say the 4 ingredients together. Ready? Vitamins, veggies, soy, rice.
We're here today packing life-saving nutritional meals for kids all around the world. We've got a group of about 115 people here right now, and you can see over my shoulder that they're scooping these ingredients, vitamins, vegetables, soy, and rice, into a bag that will hold 6 meals. And they seal those up and put them in a box, and then they'll put those boxes on a pallet, which will soon be sent on their way to potentially over 70 countries around the world that we serve. We do this 5 times a day, 6 days a week, where we have volunteers sign up for 2-hour shifts at a time. They can be anywhere from age 5 and up. We've had people as over 100 that come and participated with us before. We have different jobs, from scooping ingredients to labeling bags to working in our warehouse, carrying the ingredients around and putting boxes on pallets. So we've got something for everybody.
I'm sealing the bags so they don't fall out, obviously. Well, at first I was a little confused, but I figured it out, and you just press and it's good to go. It's fun, it's exciting, we get to hang out, and we're doing something good for the world.
All right, let's see who can be faster, the boys or the girls. Let's go, let's go. They're very excited, that's for sure. They're doing a great job. They're having a little bit of friendly competitions, who can fill it the fastest. The girls are a little more excited than my boy team over here, but it's just an awesome experience. I think as students, sometimes we can get wrapped up in our own little worlds, but when we see how we can help others, I think it's really empowering for all of our students, and it teaches them how to give back to others, and that's just a really important life skill.
We're all really excited to be here, and it's fun, and we'll all probably come back and do it again.
So many people, especially this time of year, are wanting to do more than just think about giving gifts. They want to give of themselves, and so they can come and do that with us.